News Services Division of All India Radio present Money Matters.
देश और लोगों के वित्त और अर्थव्यवस्था से जुड़ा कार्यक्रम
About savings, investments, borrowings and taxations.
हिंदी और इंग्लिश में सीधा प्रसारण
On our digital platforms.
सुनना ना भूलें हर रोज शाम 4:05 से 4:30 तक.
Money Matters.
Hello, good afternoon and welcome to Money Matters, our new show dedicated to all things to do with personal finance. You're listening to this on our official All India Radio News YouTube channel and other digital platforms. Money Matters is an interactive show where you also can participate. You can do that simply by typing your comments in the live chat section, or you can send us an email on moneymatters.air@gmail.com. We announce the topic of the show one day in advance so that you can send in your questions in advance. Our topic for today is basics of mutual fund. I'm Ravi Kumar and with me is my co-anchor in Hindi, Vishal Sharma.
नमस्कार, मनी मैटर्स में आप सभी का स्वागत। देश और लोगों के वित्त और अर्थव्यवस्था से जुड़े इस कार्यक्रम में आर्थिक खबरें आप तक लाने के अलावा हम प्रतिदिन एक निर्धारित विषय पर अपनी चर्चा केंद्रित करते हैं और आज का विषय है बेसिक्स ऑफ म्यूचुअल फंड, जैसा कि रवि ने बताया, यानी म्यूचुअल फंड से जुड़ी बुनियादी बातें। श्रोताओं, इस कार्यक्रम में हम आपके सवाल भी शामिल करते हैं। सवाल भेजने के लिए हमारा ईमेल आईडी moneymatters.air@gmail.com। इसके अलावा यूट्यूब चैनल में कमेंट सेक्शन में जाकर भी आप अपना सवाल हम भेज सकते हैं। आज के कार्यक्रम में हमारे साथ चर्चा के लिए आमंत्रित हैं वरिष्ठ आर्थिक विश्लेषक यामिनी अग्रवाल। यामिनी, नमस्कार। कार्यक्रम में आपका स्वागत।
धन्यवाद।
और अब आज की आर्थिक खबरों के साथ हैं वी रवि कुमार।
After hitting record highs last week, equity benchmarks today closed with marginal losses. Sensex and Nifty both lost around 0.1% amid mixed cues from global markets. Sensex at the Bombay Stock Exchange fell 39 points to close at 41,643. Nifty at the National Stock Exchange also slipped 9 points to settle at 12,263. The rupee at the forex market also weakened marginally by 2 paise to 71 rupees and 14 paise in late afternoon deals. Gold prices soared 187 rupees to 39,053 rupees per 10 grams in the national capital. Silver also jumped 495 rupees to 46,499 rupees per kilogram. Yamini, let's begin our discussion by looking at, we are calling it the basics of mutual funds. So let's go back to the basic of the basic. So most people walk up to us and say that, sir, koi mutual fund bataiye. And they think of it almost like a commodity. So many people don't understand the risks associated with. So if I have to use a metaphor or explain it simply, what is a mutual fund?
Well, when we talk about a mutual fund, it's basically different money from the different investors which are pooled together in a corpus, and the SPV, which is a special purpose vehicle, basically invests this particular money into the equities or the debt markets or the money market instruments that is there, and there's a portfolio manager who actually manages the investments into these different securities that are there.
So what you're saying is that the first concept that is very important to understand is that a mutual fund requires people to pool money. And so let's say Vishal and I alone cannot buy, let's say, the share of MRF, which is currently trading at 63,000. We both are quite poor, and we both decide to bring in money together and both pool in money and both put in around 35,000 each. Now we are in a position to buy one share of MRF. So first concept is you're saying that we pool the money. Second concept, very important point that you raised, is that mutual fund is not a category by itself. Mutual fund is just the vehicle, SPV is the word you used, and then you have to decide what is the investment objective. Do you want to go into equity, you want to go into debt, or you want to go into money market? So are these the only three options, or are there other options in mutual funds?
Well, you can actually bring about the investment plan as per the investment objective which the mutual funds have. So you're basically investing into securities market. You can invest into commodities and other markets which have been permitted lately for the mutual funds. So you can actually bring about investments into these through the mutual funds.
So conceptually, you can also have probably a gold mutual fund, you can have a real estate mutual fund or commodities, as you mentioned. But in India currently, we largely stick to the equities, debt and the short-term money market kind of a
Yes,
thing.
presently we are sticking to the equity, debt and the money market mutual funds, but they have been also permitted to enter into the commodities market.
So the most important thing for a person to decide is not that he has to buy a mutual fund. The most important thing for him to decide is what is the asset class that he gets into, whether he wants to get into equity or debt or money markets.
The most important thing for anybody before he plans to invest in a mutual fund is to decide what is his goal, whether he wants to be a long-term investor, whether he wants to be a short-term investor, what kind of a return versus a risk is he willing to take. Is he willing to take a high risk? Is he willing to take a low risk? Does he want a stable return, or does he want a high return which is there? Based upon his age, based upon his goal, based upon his risk averseness in terms of taking risk in the markets, he can then choose a mutual fund which has a particular investment objective, which will outline as to where the mutual fund or the portfolio manager will invest the major portion of the mutual fund in different securities. So if you actually are investing about above 65% in a equity, it automatically becomes an equity oriented mutual fund. If you are investing most of your funds in fixed income securities like debt, corporate debts, government securities and others, then it becomes a debt fund. And if you're investing in money market instruments, then it becomes a money market mutual fund. If you invest in equity and debt, then it becomes a balanced mutual fund. So depending upon where you're investing and for how long you're investing, and whether you allow investors to invest after the scheme has opened or not, that defines the overall complexion of the mutual fund.
तो कुल मिलाकर आपके नजरिए से कि निवेश का लक्ष्य जो है वो आपका निर्धारित करता है कि आपको किस म्यूचुअल फंड में जाना है, किस तरीके के म्यूचुअल फंड में आपको इन्वेस्ट करना है. तो म्यूचुअल फंड में जब हम इन्वेस्ट करने की बात करते हैं तो दो तरह के मेनली जो शुरुआती जो हमें सामने आते हैं वो होते हैं ओपन एंडेड फंड्स और क्लोज एंडेड फंड्स. इनके बारे में बताइए कि ये क्या है.
जी, ओपन एंडेड फंड्स और क्लोज एंडेड फंड्स म्यूचुअल फंड्स की स्कीम्स होती हैं जिसके अंदर आप जो इनिशियल पब्लिक ऑफर आता है आपका म्यूचुअल फंड स्कीम का, जिसके जो डिफाइन करता है कि वो स्कीम क्या है और कहाँ इन्वेस्ट करेगी, उसके तहत आप जब एक क्लोज एंडेड फंड में इन्वेस्ट करते हैं तो आप बार बार एंटर और एग्जिट नहीं कर सकते. एक ओपन एंडेड म्यूचुअल फंड में आप स्कीम खत्म होने के बाद भी एंट्री और एग्जिट कर सकते हैं. ओपन एंडेड फंड में आपको अलाउड होता है कि आप जिस समय एंटर करना चाहते हैं एंटर करके लिक्विडिटी अपने पास रख सकते हैं, और जब आप एग्जिट करना चाहते हैं वो भी कर सकते हैं. क्लोज एंडेड फंड्स के जो रिटर्न्स होते हैं वो ज़्यादातर बेहतर होते हैं, पर लिक्विडिटी प्रोवाइड नहीं करते इन्वेस्टर्स को.
और यहाँ जब हम बात करें तो न्यू फंड ऑफर्स भी होते हैं. ये एनएफओ में निवेश करना कितना समझदारी भरा निर्णय हो सकता है.
डिफरेंट म्यूचुअल फंड AMCs जिन्हें हम कहते हैं, एसेट मैनेजमेंट कंपनीज, म्यूचुअल फंड स्कीम्स लाती हैं, NFOs जिन्हें हम कहते हैं, और इन न्यू फंड ऑफर्स के तहत वो अपनी स्कीम को डिस्क्राइब करती हैं कि वो कैसे इन्वेस्ट करेंगे, कितने टाइम के लिए करेंगे और कितने रिटर्न्स ऑफर करने की रखते हैं कोशिश. तो उसके तहत आप इन न्यू फंड ऑफर्स के अंदर इन्वेस्ट कर सकते हैं और एक पर्टिकुलर रेट पे जो आपको मिलता है NAV, उसके ऊपर आप इन्वेस्ट कर पाएंगे.
So I would look at the one product that's probably the most common in India, that's fixed deposits. So I have all my life invested in fixed deposits, so has my father, and I have heard about mutual funds. Why should I invest in mutual funds?
Well, when we talk about fixed deposits give you a certain specific return which is guaranteed by the bank, which says that for a particular period from 3 months to 6 months to 1 year to 2 years or whatever is the amount of FD you're making, you will get that particular return. Usually the fixed deposit tends to give this particular return which is safe and which is considered that it will be continuous, stable, but is usually lower than the market return which the mutual funds offer. If you look at the stock markets, stock markets have been continuously growing in terms of their market capitalization.
So let me interrupt you there, Yamini. The word that I heard you saying was market returns. So we hear this thing in any mutual fund ad is mutual funds are subject to market risks. So what are these market risks? I'm again using the same construct of trying to understand this through the prism of fixed deposits. So fixed deposits, you say, give us a fixed return, give us a reasonably safe return. And here we are subject to market risk. So what are these market
So
risks?
when you talk about a mutual fund, what it does is it takes money from you and it invests into the stock market. So when it invests into the stock markets, it buys securities, and its overall value is dependent upon what we call as the net asset value, which is determined by the price at which the share is trading for which you have bought in by the mutual fund. So as the stock prices go up, the NAVs also go up. As the stock prices go down, the NAVs also go down. So you can lose the entire bit of money if the portfolio manager has invested into particular equities which are actually losing money day by day. And you can also gain money as and when the securities in which he has invested continue to gain money. So when we say they are subject to market risk, we are basically saying that the securities continue to increase and decrease based upon the market demand and supply of these particular securities, and they cannot ascertain you the amount of return which will be given to you as is ascertained in the fixed deposit.
So let's say I invested 100 rupees today into a mutual fund, whether it is a debt, equity, or money market, or any other category of mutual funds. Is it possible that over the next 1 year, or probably in a shorter term, I could lose 20% or even 50% of that money?
Yes, you can actually lose money on these mutual funds.
So that's what market risk
That would
means
mean
too. But it also means that I could probably gain 20%, and
Yes.
that again is what market
It means,
risk.
let's say if you invested 100 rupees and the stock where you invested goes up higher, let's say it becomes 120, you gain that 20 rupees over there. However, if the stock goes 80, you automatically lose that 20 over there.
So if I'm not comfortable with this risk, I'm typically not comfortable. I want, okay, even if I get 4%, I want that 4% to be certain and sure. Then would you recommend that I still look at mutual funds?
Yeah, you have fixed income security mutual funds in which you can invest, which are debt securities, which largely, if they're investing into government securities, they would give a specified amount of return. Corporate bonds are also of a safer bet if they're invested in the right credit rated corporate debt which is there.
तो अगर ज़्यादा रिटर्न है तो थोड़ा बहुत जोखिम भी उसके साथ जुड़ा हुआ है। और बात यहाँ पर एक ये भी आती है कि क्या म्यूचुअल फंड्स में इन्वेस्ट करके क्या हम टैक्स की बचत कर सकते हैं किसी तरीके से?
जी, आप ATC के तहत अगर आप ELSS में इन्वेस्ट करते हैं तो आपको ATC के तहत 1,50,000 तक की आप टैक्स एग्जेम्पशन ले सकते हैं। और बाकी जब आप एग्जिट करते हैं म्यूचुअल फंड से तो आपको लॉन्ग टर्म कैपिटल गेन्स पे करना होता है। जो डिविडेंड डिस्ट्रीब्यूशन म्यूचुअल फंड्स करेंगे तो म्यूचुअल फंड हाउसेज उसके ऊपर डिविडेंड टैक्स पे करते हैं।
So now if you look at the classification, SEBI in October 6th, 2017 actually classified mutual fund into 36 categories. So broadly they are equity, debt, hybrid, solution oriented and other schemes. We'll leave out solution oriented and other schemes for the purpose of this discussion. So we're looking at equity, debt and hybrid. So when we spoke about that market risk, how would you grade these risks in these three categories? So equity, debt and hybrid. Hybrid of course is a mix of equity and debt. So which one would be the highest risk? Which one would be medium risk? Which one would be no risk, if that is possible?
Well, when we say, when you talk about mutual funds and you're investing into market securities, the question of no risk doesn't arise because there's not a specific return that they can promise or assure you. One needs to remember that. Only when you're investing in government securities, which I don't think any mutual fund specifically only invests in government securities, they invest in government securities and corporate bonds that are there. So when you invest in equities, that is the highest risk which is there. Then comes the hybrid and then comes the debt. Debt usually are fixed income securities because they promise a coupon rate on each security that you have bought. So that gives you a certain amount of an assurance that much amount of return you will get. And since they invest in some part of the government securities, that is always called a risk-free rate of return, which is always assured.
So let's bring in this entire discussion to a practical construct here. We have a question from one of our listeners. Sai Prasad Chavan has written in and he's asking, I have invested in mutual funds SIP around 20,000 rupees. Later I found that is Sai Prasad found that mutual funds are less profitable than stocks. Is that right? That's his question. And he's also asking another question. is there compound interest in SIP? So we'll come to this SIP later because that's a topic of discussion by itself. So let's first look at the first part of the question, that are mutual funds less profitable than stocks?
One cannot say that mutual funds are less profitable than stocks or not. Mutual funds give you an option of having a portfolio manager managing your investments for investing in the securities markets, whether it is bonds, equities, and managing your funds in such a manner that the net asset value gains value. However, he is a mutual fund portfolio manager, and he cannot guarantee you as to how and the manner in which the market would behave, whether it would go up or whether it would go down. If the market goes up, it would add on to your net asset value. If it goes down, it lowers down your asset value. Just like the stock, if it goes up, it gives you more returns. If it goes down, it gives you lesser value. If you invest in the right stocks, you can get better values. If you invest in the right mutual funds, you can get better NAVs for yourself.
You're tuned in to Money Matters on our official YouTube channel. We'll be back and discuss about SIPs right after this break. Welcome back to Money Matters. Yamini, we were talking about SIP as being part of the question. We were talking about SIPs as being part of the question that Sai Prasad had asked, and that was that brings me to another part that an expert had once mentioned as a part of a question, was that he said, tell me the name of a mutual fund. So the expert told him the name of the mutual fund, and then he said, now tell me an SIP also. So let me link that particular anecdote to this question that Sai Prasad has asked. Is there compound interest in SIPs and mutual funds?
Okay, so first of all, what is an SIP? SIP is a systematic investment plan whereby you actually, as the word suggests, you systematically plan your investments by making small amount of investments into a particular financial instrument, and that financial instrument can be a mutual fund, an insurance, or even in the stock markets,
or even post office instruments.
Even post office instruments, even your fixed deposits that are there, whereby let's say you've whatever a monthly income you're getting, and you might want to debit a certain amount of money for your mutual fund or for your insurance or for your let's say stock market investment or anything that you would like to buy, let's say even a consumable good that you want to buy. Systematic investment plan basically means that. So it's not specific to a mutual fund, but for the benefit of the investors, since the mutual fund idea is to pool resources and then to make investments, it should reach to the as many people as it can. And for people who have lesser investment capability, they can actually invest in the stock markets through the SIPs by even making small amount of contributions like 500 rupees out of their salaries, and can participate in the growth that has been seen in the stock markets or in the securities markets that are there.
जी, कार्यक्रम में आगे बढ़ने से पहले हम आपको बताते चलें कि मनी मैटर्स कार्यक्रम में हम आपके सवाल भी शामिल करते हैं. सवाल भेजने के लिए हमारा ईमेल आईडी हम एक बार फिर बता देते हैं आपको, moneymatters.air@gmail.com. कल के कार्यक्रम का हमारा विषय है प्रधानमंत्री जनधन योजना. इस विषय पर अगर आप कोई भी जानकारी चाहते हो तो अपने सवाल हमें भेज सकते हैं. आपके सवालों को हम कार्यक्रम में अवश्य शामिल करेंगे. वापस लौटते हैं आज की चर्चा पर म्यूचुअल फंड्स बेसिक्स के बारे में. और इतनी बात हो गई कि हमने तरह तरह के म्यूचुअल फंड्स के बारे में बात करी, लेकिन म्यूचुअल फंड में इन्वेस्ट कैसे किया जाए, शुरुआत कैसे कर सकता है एक आम निवेशक म्यूचुअल फंड में निवेश कीजिए?
आप ऑफलाइन में इन्वेस्टमेंट्स कर सकते हैं, ऑनलाइन भी इन्वेस्टमेंट्स कर सकते हैं. आप किसी भी इन्वेस्टर सर्विस पॉइंट सेंटर पे जा सकते हैं जिसके अंदर आप एक म्यूचुअल फंड में इन्वेस्ट कर सकते हैं. आप एक रजिस्ट्रेशन रिक्वेस्ट फॉर्म में सबमिट करके ऑफलाइन एक AMC को दे सकते हैं, ये म्यूचुअल फंड डिस्ट्रीब्यूटर को दे सकते हैं, और वो आपके लिए स्कीम खरीद सकता है. सिमिलरली आप ऑनलाइन में म्यूचुअल फंड्स के अंदर जा करके उनकी वेबसाइट्स पे जा करके आप इन्वेस्टमेंट्स कर सकते हैं.
अगर हम ये देखें तो क्या हम डायरेक्ट म्यूचुअल फंड कंपनी में जाकर भी म्यूचुअल फंड्स खरीद सकते हैं?
आप म्यूचुअल फंड्स डायरेक्टली ऑनलाइन भी खरीद सकते हैं.
और इसके क्या फायदे हैं ऑनलाइन खरीदने के?
जी, ऑनलाइन खरीदने का यही फायदा है कि आप किसी भी स्पेसिफिक डिस्ट्रीब्यूटर के थ्रू नहीं जा रहे हैं और आप एक डायरेक्ट अपना म्यूचुअल फंड जो आप खरीदना चाहते हैं वो खरीद सकते हैं. कुछ बैंक्स ये फैसिलिटी भी देते हैं जिसके अंदर आपके अकाउंट के साथ आप म्यूचुअल फंड्स खरीद सकते हैं और बेच सकते हैं, और डायरेक्टली जो आप परचेज करेंगे वो आपके अकाउंट से डेबिट हो जाएगा. और जैसे ही रिडीम करेंगे वो आपके अकाउंट में पैसा वापस आ जाएगा, और जो डिविडेंड्स हैं वो भी डायरेक्टली आपके बैंक अकाउंट में आ जाएंगे। और आपको केवाईसी की रिक्वायरमेंट्स उतनी कंप्लीट नहीं करनी होती। केवाईसी की जो रिक्वायरमेंट्स हैं आपको ऑफलाइन फॉर्म में कंप्लीट करनी होती है, क्योंकि आपका बैंक अकाउंट ऑलरेडी केवाईसी रिक्वायरमेंट्स कंप्लीट करके रखता है। उनके थ्रू आप जब ऑनलाइन खरीदते हैं तो आपको आसान पड़ता है।
ऑनलाइन जब हम खरीदते हैं तो क्या तब हम डिस्ट्रीब्यूटर को जो एक हिस्सा जाता है हमारे निवेश का,
कमीशंस की बात जो आप कर
तो
रहे
वो
हैं,
भी हम बचाते हैं?
हाँ जी, हम वो भी बताते हैं।
So, Yamini, let's just close the discussion about that compound interest. Compound interest basically refers to getting interest on interest. Yes. That is not very relevant in mutual funds because, as we discussed right at the beginning, it's subject to market risk. So, if I lose 10% of my capital in the first year, there's no point discussing interest on interest because I lost 10%. It's possible, the concept of compound interest is possible only when I have a systematic rise, even if it's 2%. So 2% on 102% on 104%, that's how it works. So it's not relevant to this concept. Of course, if you assume that you're getting a regular, let's say even a 7-8% increase every year, it does compound. Is that correct?
So when we talk about a mutual fund, we are talking about returns in terms of the dividends and capital appreciation that is there. So when a mutual fund, a portfolio manager really buys and sells the units and makes a certain amount of money, he distributes the profits from the particular mutual funds to the investors, which we receive in the form of dividends, and he pays a tax on that. When you actually redeem your mutual funds at a NAV, you actually have capital gains in case the NAVs are higher from the price at which you had bought it. So you basically have the concept of dividend payments, dividend money, and you have the concept of capital appreciation, and there is no particular fixed interest which is paid in the mutual fund. So the question of a simple interest or a compound interest really does not come into the picture.
So there's another topic which is a topic of hot discussion these days is direct plan versus what we call as regular plan. So if I go for a regular plan, I'm basically going through a bank or through a broker or through a distributor wherein some amount, generally, typically it will range from between 50 basis points to 100 basis points extra would be charged to the customer because you have gone through that route. And the other means is what you call as direct. So if I want to go for the direct and save that 100 basis points or 50 basis points, how do I know that this is direct?
Well, we make an online payments which are there, and that is how we actually plan about the direct plan that is there, as against the bank which we are likely to plan it through, or through an asset management company that is there.
And also, Yamini, the scheme name would mention that it is
scheme
direct.
name will also mention, and when you get your statement, that will also give you an idea that it is a direct plan or there has been a charge that has been put on it.
जी यामिनी, यहाँ एक सवाल ये होता है कि how to choose the best mutual fund? क्या parameters होने चाहिए एक अच्छा म्यूचुअल फंड चुनने?
And let me add to that, is there something called the best mutual fund?
A mutual fund is a choice of a mutual fund is completely dependent upon your goals, your risk profile, and in what kind of a period are you wanting to get your returns. So when you look at a mutual fund, first of all define your goals, define your risk profile, and then enter into a mutual fund. So there's no best particular or one particular mutual fund which suits everybody. Different mutual funds will suit different people, but there are benchmarks against which all mutual funds define their returns, which is usually given in their statement or in their policy, the document which they actually bring out in their schemes which are there, which will indicate that the particular return is higher or lower than their peer groups or the benchmarks that are there.
तो एक आम निवेशक जो शुरुआती तौर पर म्यूचुअल फंड्स में निवेश करना चाह रहा है, क्या उसको म्यूचुअल फंड कंपनी का जो पर्टिकुलर फंड है उसका पिछले सालों का प्रदर्शन को अपने सामने रखना चाहिए, परफॉर्मेंस देखनी चाहिए कि किसकी परफॉर्मेंस कैसी रही है?
Yes, his the performance जो म्यूचुअल फंड की है वो सिर्फ पिछले सालों की नहीं, उसके उस साल की भी और उसके जो पीयर ग्रुप्स है उसके साथ भी मेजर करके देखनी चाहिए कि वो कैसा परफॉर्म कर रहा है, कितना एंट्री या एग्जिट लोड लगा रहा है और कितनी टोटल एक्सपेंस रेशियो है और वो कितना उसको फायदा पहुंचेगा. और
यहाँ पर फंड मैनेजर का जो एक रोल होता है वो बहुत महत्वपूर्ण होता है किसी भी फंड में. उसके फंड मैनेजर के बारे में भी क्या कुछ जानकारी करनी चाहिए कि इस फंड के मैनेजर?
जी बिल्कुल, जैसे एसेट मैनेजमेंट कंपनी है, कौन सी मैनेजमेंट कंपनी है और वो क्या प्रोसीजर अडॉप्ट करती है, ये जरूरी है जानना म्यूचुअल फंड की इन्वेस्टमेंट के लिए.
Or we will, of course, one program is too little to discuss mutual funds in depth. So we will continue discussing mutual funds in greater depth. As we said, there are 36 kinds of mutual funds. We'll continue discussing that. But thank you today, Yamini, for a wonderful opening discussion on mutual funds. I hope a lot of our listeners have got the basic concepts clear now. And if you missed some part of this, you can watch this show again on our YouTube channel, and you can find a lot of information about mutual funds on amphiindia.com. And to remind you, as Vishal mentioned earlier, the topic for tomorrow's show is Pradhan Mantri Jan Dhan Yojana, and do send in your questions on this topic in advance at moneymatters.air@gmail.com. If you like this show, please do hit the like button and do subscribe to our channel as well. Thank you, Yamini. Thank you, Vishal.
Thank you.
And that's a wrap on this edition of Money Matters. Namaskar.
Namaskar.